Did you know that Shakespeare's Sonnet 30 might actually be a hidden mystical text about divine judgment and resurrection? What if I told you that behind those famous lines about sessions of sweet silent thought lies a deeper spiritual mystery that connects to ancient Jewish mysticism and Christian theology? Today we're going to explore something absolutely fascinating. We're diving into Shakespeare's Sonnet 30 through a completely different lens that you may have never seen before. We're looking at this sonnet through the perspective of Zoharic, ancient Jewish mystical text, which is the primary source document for the sonnets. The connections we're about to discover will change how you think about this famous poem forever. But first, let me share something that might surprise you. The opening line, when the sessions of sweet silent thought I summon up remembrance of things past, isn't just about remembering the past. We've been taught the poet pictures his moments of serious reflection as a court session in which his memories are summoned to appear, but then he thinks of his beloved friend and the grief changes to joy. Well, that's only partly correct. It's actually referring to the upper court, the divine courts of judgment and mercy, called the Chamber of Judgments and the Chamber of Mercy. And Emilia Lanier, in her 1611 work, Salve Deus Rex Judaeorum, or Hail God King of the Jews, left us the keys to understand this hidden meaning, which was drawn from the very same source documents. There are 3 secret keys that unlock the deepest mysteries of existence itself. Let's dive in. I'm Dr. Peter D. Matthews. Let's start by reading Shakespeare's Sonnet 30 and then break it down into each quatrain and couplet through this Zoharic lens. When to the sessions of sweet silent thought I summon up remembrance of things past, I sigh the lack of many a thing I sought, and with old woes new wail my dear time's waste. Then can I drown an eye, unused to flow, for precious friends hid in death's dateless night, and weep afresh love's long since cancelled woe, and moan the expense of many a vanished sight. Then can I grieve at grievances foregone, and heavily from woe to woe tell over the sad account of fore bemoaned moan, which I knew pay as if not paid before. But if the while I think on thee, dear friend, all losses are restored and sorrows end. We open with Psalm 36:6. Your righteousness is like the mountains of God. Your judgments are like the great abyss. Man and beast you save, O Lord. That sets the tone for the sonnet. This verse establishes the cosmic scale that we're dealing with. God's righteousness towers like mountains, while his judgments flow deep like an abyss. The Hebrew word for righteousness, and I'll put it up on the screen, represents divine justice that operates on multiple levels simultaneously. This connects to the river Dina that flows with dark waters from Jerusalem, and from these waters the luminaries emerge. These luminaries are the divine sparks that illuminate spiritual truth. They represent God's ability to foresee what's coming and act decisively to save humanity. Now, here's where Emilia Lanier's work becomes crucial to our understanding. Most scholars have overlooked her work, but she actually provides 3 secret keys to decode Sonnet 30. These 3 keys correspond to 3 divine powers that God keeps in his own hands. The first is childbirth. In Emilia's dedication to Lady Lucy, Countess of Bedford, she writes, "The key of that cabinet where yourself doth rest." This cabinet represents the womb, the sacred space of creation. And this connects to 1 Timothy 2:15, if you want to have a look at that further. Now in the first quatrain, when the sessions of sweet silent thought, I summon up remembrance of things past. I sigh the lack of many a thing I sought, and with old woes new wail my dear time's waste. From our primary source document, Zoharic 116b, the Upper Sanhedrin convenes in sessions of divine judgment, weighing souls' past deeds. Emilia casts the soul as a plaintiff, like the Merchant of Venice courtroom scene, summoning remembrance like a court subpoena. And remember this, because this is exactly how it will play out when you go to heaven, or the soul will. The sweet silent thought invokes 1 Corinthians' silent remembrance of the broken paschal lamb, Jesus' broken body offered in quiet sacrifice. This silence is sweet because it redeems old woes or old sins, echoing the Zohar's mercy amid judgment. The lack and waste refer to the unfulfilled seeking in the lower worlds. Now this is talking about the lower worlds in the tree of life. But through remembrance we access 3 keys: childbirth or wasted potential for new life, rain, drought of blessing, and the third one, resurrection or lost eternal renewal. Without this silent focus on the Lamb, judgment prevails over mercy. See, Emilia had suffered a number of miscarriages and the death of her baby daughter, Odilia, pondering whether the death may have prevented the world's destruction. In Zoharic tradition, the death of a righteous person, a righteous soul, can prevent the world's destruction, particularly a Lamed Vav. Then can I drown an eye, unused to flow. Speaks of the drowning of an eye, tears flowing from the face of a mother when the child has died, where the flow of Malkut in the tree of life suddenly stops and there is a lifeless corpse in her arms. This links to the telling of Passover, meaning those that are in the world today have been scrutinized by the Lord, for they have potential, linking back to Sonnet 1, to bring forth righteous children and bring them up in the right ways. Each of us had the potential to do evil, depending on whether we entertain the evil impulse or reject and overcome it. This is why I've said we have a role to play in our redemption in my previous video on Revelation 1:1-8. It's about spiritual regeneration and the divine power to create new life. Every birth is a miracle that echoes the original act of creation. Now, investigating the second quatrain, then can I drown an eye unused to flow, which I already started, but for precious friends hid in death's dateless night, and weep afresh love's long since cancelled woe, and moan the expense of many a vanished sight. Zohar 1:117a expounds on death's dateless night as the Sheol void, where souls linger without resurrection's key. The drown an eye, or tears unused to flow, symbolizes the soul's rare grief in the upper court, weeping for precious friends. This is talking about lost neshmot, or lost neshama, righteous or angelic companions. Emilia draws from the biblical cancelled woe like debts in Leviticus 25, but ties it to 1 Corinthians remembrance. The Paschal Lamb's broken body cancels sin's expense. The vanished sight moans the loss of divine vision guarded by the three keys. Now this can be transposed as childbirth, friends unborn, rain, blessings withheld, resurrection, friends not revived. So this quatrain urges us to investigate these keys through silent remembrance, lest woes remain uncancelled or sins not forgiven. Here we are discussing the second key of rain, which represents divine sustenance and knowledge. Emilia refers to this in Salve as holding the key of knowledge in her hand. This connects directly to the story of Elijah and the 3.5 years of drought, which is expounded in Luke 4:25. Certainly there were many needy widows in Israel in Elijah's time, when the heavens were closed for 3.5 years and a severe famine devastated the land. You see, the power to open and close the heavens belongs to God alone. Although we will learn about the two witnesses in Revelation 11:16 who have the power to shut the sky so that no rain will fall as long as they prophesy. Rain represents more than physical water. It symbolizes divine wisdom and blessing flowing down from heaven. When God withholds rain, he's withholding blessing. When he sends rain, he's pouring out his favour, knowledge and blessing upon creation. It is described in 2 Chronicles chapter 7:14, I believe the verse is, as healing the land. Now, turning to the third quatrain. Then can I grieve at grievances foregone, and heavily from woe to woe tell over the sad account of fore-bemoaned moan, which I knew pay as if not paid before. Here, Zohar 1:117b to 118a describe the sad account as the heavenly ledger in the upper Sanhedrin, recounting foregone grievances or past sins tallied like debts. The soul tells over woes heavily repaid as if unpaid, mirroring the Zohar's cycles of judgment without mercy. Emilia infuses biblical resonance. This is the moan of unremembered sacrifice, where 1 Corinthians calls to remember the broken body. The three keys intervene. Childbirth actually redeems through new beginnings. Rain washes away woes with blessing, and resurrection nullifies death's payment. Without focusing on the Paschal Lamb's silence, the soul remains trapped in endless reckoning. Thus, the third key is resurrection, the power over death itself. Emilia writes about Christ in Salve, who took the keys of all death's power away. This connects to Revelation 1:18, which I'm going to cover in my next episode more deeply. I am the living one. I was dead, but now look, I'm alive forever and ever, and I hold the keys to death and hell. This is the ultimate key, because death is our final enemy. The power to resurrect, to bring life from death, belongs uniquely to the divine nature of God. Now let's examine how these keys unlock Sonnet 30. when to the sessions of sweet silent thought I summon up remembrance of things past. The word sessions isn't casual. It refers to the upper Sanhedrin, the divine court of judgment. In Zoharic tradition, the soul appears before this court to give account, as I've explained. The sweet silent thought connects to Corinthians, where Paul, speaking of remembering the broken body. And I want to read it here because it sort of draws all this together. The Lord Jesus, on the night when he was betrayed, took bread. And when he had given thanks, he broke it and said, "This is my body, which is for you. Do this in remembrance of me." This remembrance isn't just a historical remembrance. It's participating in the divine sacrifice. The silence is sweet because it's filled with the presence of the Paschal Lamb. The next line speaks of summoning remembrance. See, in Hebrew thought, remembrance is active, it's not passive. When God remembers, he acts. When we remember properly, we align ourselves with the divine action of God. The soul summons up these memories not for nostalgia's sake, but for spiritual accountability. Every thought, every deed, every moment is weighed in the divine scales. Remember that. Every thought, every deed, every moment of our lives. Zohar 1, 116b to 118a provides our primary source for understanding the process. It describes how the soul undergoes examination in these upper realms. This isn't about punishment. It's about purification and preparation. The number 30 in Sonnet 30 is deeply significant. 30 represents the tribe of Judah, the royal tribe from which the Messiah comes. It also connects to the Hebrew letter Lamed in the mystical combination Lamed Vav. Lamed represents learning and teaching, the transmission of divine wisdom. The Lamed Vav together embody the luminaries we discussed earlier. These luminaries are the angels, the seers, the messengers between heaven and earth. Think of them as the larks that we mention in the sonnets and other Shakespearean works. These birds of the air proclaim God's secrets to humanity, but they also carry our secrets, our prayers, our longings back to the King of Kings. This creates a continuous flow of communication between the earthly and divine realms. Now this brings me to the final couplet. But if the while I think on thee, dear friend, all losses are restored and sorrows end. Now you're guessing where I'm going with this one. Zohar 1, 118a culminates in redemption. Thinking on the dear friend. Mystically, this is talking about Shekinah, the divine presence, echoing the Song of Songs, beloved, restores all. Emilia aligns this with Jesus as the ultimate friend and Paschal Lamb, whose remembered broken body unlocks the keys. Childbirth brings new souls, rain renews the earth, resurrection ends death. All in God's hands, not angels. In the upper court, sorrows end through this sweet, silent remembrance. The sonnet's progression through memories of loss and sorrow represents the soul's journey. Each remembered grief is like a case, a legal case, brought before the divine court. But here's the beautiful truth that emerges. The sweet, silent thought transforms the pain. The remembrance of Christ's sacrifice gives meaning to all suffering. Every loss becomes part of the larger pattern of redemption, and Christ as Michael holds the keys to the 50 gates of Bina, and Bina represents divine understanding, the ability to see the deeper patterns. With these keys, Christ can traverse any distance in one flight. This means no prayer is too distant, no soul is too lost, no situation too hopeless. Remember that too. No situation too hopeless. The divine reach extends everywhere, instantaneously. Our individual stories and threads are part of the divine tapestry. When we engage in sweet, silent thought, we're not just remembering, we're participating in the ongoing work of creation and redemption. We play a part. The tears we shed become prayers. The losses we mourn become offerings. The love we remember becomes eternal treasure. This is why the sonnet moves from sorrow to redemption or salvation. The initial pain of remembrance gives way to the sweet silence of divine presence. The session of thought becomes a session of communion with God. The upper court reveals itself not as a place of condemnation, but restoration. Now, Emilia has a fourth key, which relates to end times, and it's another layer, but I'm going to release this in a later video because it's in a later sonnet. But this key opens our understanding to the ultimate resolution of all things. Every personal session of sweet silent thought is preparing us for the final session, the one day when all accounts are settled, all tears are wiped away, and all mysteries are revealed. So there you have it. Shakespeare Sonnet 30 isn't just a beautiful poem about memory and loss. It's so much more. Sonnet 30 is Emilia Lanier's call to the upper Sanhedrin, summoned remembrance of the Paschal Lamb from 1 Corinthians. Investigate the 3 keys revealed in Zoharic and find restoration. This isn't mere poetry. It's mystical prophecy. It's magnificent. If this exploration opened new perspectives for you, hit the like button and share it with others who love deep literary spiritual connections. And don't forget to subscribe for more content that explores the sonnets and its mystical dimensions of classical literature. Until next time, may your sessions of sweet silent thought be filled with divine presence and understanding.